Hi, Al Hensel here again, the constitutional coot from the San Francisco Peninsula. And here we go again. You think these law enforcement thugs would learn or be trained or something. Now we have one being accused of breaking up a fight in a secondary school and doing, among other things, placing his uh, knee on the neck of a 12-year-old girl. What the hell is the problem here? Haven't they learned anything from the events in Minnesota with George Floyd? I mean, how do they, and this, by the way, was a law enforcement thug working part time in this school for whatever reason. And what this tells you is you don't want to hire any of these bastards to work in your school, no matter where it is, if they don't know any better than this. And this from a system that has no respect at all for human life or the vitality of human existence, creator endowed inalienable rights. And this highlights a lot of what has to change here. I mean, there's no question about it. And especially with, thugs out there, uh, just doing the same thing in their official capacity, quote unquote, which they don't have one of, especially in traffic stops and BS like this, and it just has to stop. And the system is set up such that we had a guy here that got murdered in the course of an arrest for jaywalking, for crying out loud, by 4 law enforcement thugs, and no criminal charges were filed by the local dumbass who said they didn't do anything wrong. You kill one of the thugs, what is it? First degree murder. See you later. This has to change. These thugs have to be responsible for their actions. That's the basic idea behind the federated Republican form of government of defined and limited powers we're supposed to have, but it doesn't work at all in the elective despotism that we do have. One of the reasons that racists like Madison and Jefferson were so concerned about it. Take a long look at Federalist Papers number 48 on this one. You get an education in a hurry. But that's what has to change. And the biggest change we can get is if they stop enforcing, especially vehicle code laws and administrative crap like this, where you don't have any injured party. We're not subject to it. And I don't give a rat's ass what they say in Sacramento, Washington, D.C., or anywhere else. They can't even prove you're a quote unquote person, for crying out loud. And you'll learn more about that. Send me an email, youwinningcourt@gmail.com, and I'll get the information out on what I do and how I do it. And these are some of the biggest changes we can make is to stop enforcing these victimless quote unquote crimes. Leave it to artificial corporate entities that might be subject to your jurisdiction. We're not. It's a principal and agent relationship, not guardian and ward, or potentially much worse, master and slave, which is really what they think it is. And you'll learn more about that. Send me an email, youwinningcourt@gmail.com, for information on what I do and how I do it, and how I recently managed to get a multi-million-dollar default judgment against an attorney for a quote-unquote landlord in an eviction setting, which has never happened before. There's some interesting things going on with this, by the way. It's about to reach the U.S. Supreme Court. It's a video for another time. But if you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and that's what I can teach you, send me an email, youwinningcourt@gmail.com, and we can make a lot of good things happen here. And that's what we want to do across the country and get this crap cut off, and get back to a relatively normal existence like I had growing up back in the day. We actually had peace officers, and I only recall ever being stopped once by a peace officer while traveling in my conveyance. I didn't know those terms at the time. And it was a fairly simple thing, no big deal, not like it is today. That just didn't go on back in the day. And we want to get it back to where it was. It may never have been perfect. No one's going to argue that. Only the best government ever created. We want to get back to it. We can make changes from there consistent with the Constitution, not in conflict with all 6 articles of it. And that's how it gets done. To learn more, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'll get back to you with what I have and what I do. Now, I've now got a payment plan too to make it a bit easier to get involved. My stuff is only about 30 cents a page anyway. And if you think about it, pick up the phone and call your local public pretender and see what he charges per page for his work, which isn't nearly as good as what I do. He won't have a clue, but just as a matter of interest. But that said, traffic court and any of these administrative agencies, by the way, and this includes the Child Procurement Syndicate, the FTB, the IRS, you name it, all administrative agencies, and the Supreme Court has been on the warpath against them going into their third term now. And we want to encourage them to keep doing that a lot more so. And they will, especially with success in the next quote unquote election in 2 years when they get that solid conservative majority, taken care of through the 2030s with Alito and Thomas retiring. Now they have some leeway to deal with it. That's another video for another day. In any case, to find out more about my work, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. The sooner we get these bastards to cut the divide and conquer crap they've been doing for 150 years, the sooner we get them off our backs. Thank you.